So hi everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Michael Wilson. I'm a fire solution architect on the Spark program. So I'm going to be taking you through the kickoff meeting for our Melbourne test event next week. So first of all, I'd just like to do an acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we all gather today. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. We acknowledge the First Peoples as the first scientists, educators and healers. So a bit of a walkthrough of what we're going to do today, talk through today. I'm going to introduce you to the event facilitators for the day. I'm going to give an overview of the testing event, including the testing scenarios, testing resources that we have available, how to provide feedback. And then at the end, I just want to do a bit of an introductions on who's coming to the event, what you're bringing, and anything you need, and then questions as well. So I've got questions there at the end, but feel free during this. I want this to be a two-way conversation. So if you've got questions as I go through things, please raise your hand or call out. I'm happy to stop and talk about things as they come up. So it can be quite an open discussion today. So facilitators for the day. So we've got a number of people coming from the Spark program be there. It'll be myself, Steph, Danielle, Brett, and Michael Osborne will be there for fire terminology, and Ilya from the Inferno point of view as well. So there'll be a number of us there to help you out on the day, and you can come talk to us and we'll help work through anything you've got on the day. So this is the testing event page. I'll just jump to my other window so I can show you what that looks like. I'll put it in the chat as well. Got too many windows here. All right. So this is the page, this is the event page. It's got all the details here. It's also got a copy of the slides we're going through today. So it's got all this information that you'll need will be on this page. So feel free to have a look at this. It's got the links off to other things that you'll need. And pretty much everything we're going to go through today is covered in this page. So it's a useful resource for you to come back to and have a look at prior to or during the event. I'll just find the chat window and I'll put that link in the chat too, to save you trying to grab it. Okay. It's a bit of an overview of what the testing AU core testing event's all about. The key thing we're looking at is fostering collaboration among anyone implementing AU core profile or interaction support. So that's all of you that are interested in developing systems that use the AU core profiles or the AU core interactions that are described in the capability statements. And we really want to do practical testing so that we can identify issues, challenges, and gaps in the specification. So this is not about whether your product passes or fails or whether it's conformant to AU core. This is really about exercising AU core against your products to see, are there problems in the specification? So then that can be raised as issues that can be addressed through ballot that we're going into next month. So it's really important that with this real world experience we're going to go through in the testing event, we'll actually flush out any issues with the specification, and it'll also be a great opportunity for you to see how your systems behave with AU core. So it's a structured, well, it's not really a structured environment. It's basically just a place where we can get together in one place together and work through real-time testing and troubleshooting and sharing insights that we find from AU core. And like I said, the key thing we want to do here is about identifying any issues in the specification. So one of the activities here is about gathering that feedback so that we can enhance and mature AU core. Anything we think is missing, any issues with it, that we can feed back in. So where is it? So it's next Thursday, 1st of August at the Rendezvous Hotel in Melbourne. So that's 328 Flinders Street. And the agenda for the day. So at 8:30 a.m. we'll open for registrations. So you can rock up from 8:30. We'll sign you in. And then from 9 o'clock, I'll just do a acknowledgement of country and welcome, and we'll do a bit of a kickoff, which would probably be a run through of slides similar today, just about what's going to happen on the day and your resources and things that are available to you. Then really the rest of the day is just about AU core testing in whatever form that is, depending on what type of system you're testing. We'll be there to support you, walking around, talking to you, seeing what you're doing, answering questions, helping raise issues, those sorts of things. So that's really the opportunity for free testing through most of the day. We'll have a morning tea at 10:30. It's all catered for. So we'll have morning tea. We'll have lunch at 12:30, and then an afternoon tea at 2:30. After afternoon tea, we're going to sort of focus the session then. It's about gathering the test results and feedback submission. So that'll be about gathering the information that we've gone through in the day, the testing results, helping you raise any issues, so that we've got some good resources at the end of the day about what was tested. And then we'll just do a bit of a report back and close out about what happened during the day. So a bit of a checklist for prior to the event is, if there's anyone on the call that hasn't done an expression of interest, I suspect you all have, because that's why you're at this kickoff meeting. But if you haven't, just complete an AU core testing expression of interest form, because that gives us information about who you are, what you're bringing, and so that we're ready for you on the day. Assume you'll all be bringing either a product or a proof of concept, something that will support AU core profiles with interaction support. So that's either an AU core responder as a server system, or an AU core request or a client system. The other thing is making sure that you're registered as a user on HL7's Confluence and Jira systems. This is so that you can raise issues. So again, like I said, the key point here is about raising issues on the specification. So if you can, before the event, just make sure you're registered. That's free registration. You don't need to be a HL7 member. It's open to everyone. You just need to register on the site. And then that will give you access to the Jira issue tracker. So just you can check that you've got access to that. All these links are on that track page as well. So you can get to all these from that page I gave you the link to before. And then just familiarize yourself with the HL7 specification about how to raise issues. But on the day, we'll be able to help you. So if we do find any issues in the specification, we'll help you raise these issues, work through it. And obviously prepare your product to proof of concept and environment for testing on the day. So we won't have anything at the event other than power and feeding you. So there'll be Wi-Fi, hotel Wi-Fi as well. So anything you need to support your testing on the day, make sure you bring that with you, and make sure you can access any remote servers and that you may be using. Make sure you can access them remotely. So the testing scenarios, what we're looking at testing against is the 041 preview snapshot of AU Core. So that's an update to the one that was previously available for testing. So before, there was the 040 preview snapshot that was available for testing, but this has just been updated. There was an issue that we actually identified through testing events with a smart app launch dependency in the IG that was causing issues. The dependency wasn't available. So 041 has now been released, which has that dependency changed for a smart app launch. So it's resolved that issue. But functionally, they're identical. So if you are set up or have previously been looking at using 040, that's fine. You can continue to use it. But if you're looking at loading it in for the first time, you can use 041, which has that dependency issue resolved. So just show you what that looks like as well. So you'll see here, this is the 041 preview. This is specifically being created for the testing events. So there will be another snapshot taken for ballot, but this is pretty close to it. And this is stable, so it's consistent during testing. And so that's what we're targeting with all our testing. I'll just put the link in the chat for that as well. The types of testing we're looking at doing in the day, it's either AU Core requester. So these are the actors that are defined in AU Core IG. So we're looking at AU Core requesters, which are the client systems, and AU Core responder, which are server systems. So if you've got, bring along either one of those or both, that's the sort of testing that we're targeting on the day to test the different interactions between requesters and responders using AU Core. So if you're an AU Core responder, your system's going to act as an AU Core responder, as a server. You can test your system. You're basically testing it, the interactions as described in the capability statement. So the capability statement in AU Core describes the obligations for an AU Core responder system. And we've set up Inferno, which is a test tool that allows you to test your server by running through a set of test scripts against that 041 preview snapshot. But you don't have to use Inferno. If you've got another mechanism you want to test, you want to have your own test scripts, you want to test with other systems, you can do that as well. Inferno just provides some coverage of a pretty full coverage of AU Core. And I'll go through that a little bit more a bit later in this meeting as well. If you're bringing along an AU Core requester system or a client system, you can test your system against the Spark AU Core Fire reference server. So we've got a Fire server that's been set up and configured with AU Core. It's been loaded with test data. So you can test your client system about that, against that. And hopefully there'll be other systems available that other people who have brought their systems on the day will allow clients to connect to that. So we can test with each other as well. So it's a good opportunity to do that. So a bit about the testing resources that we'll have available for you. I spoke a little bit about these, but this is the Spark AU Core Fire reference server. So we have that server. It's there. It's available now. You can actually look at it and use it now. That's the URL for it. It's loaded with all the AU Core profiles. It's loaded with test data, and you can do read and search against that server with no authorization. So it's fully open. It also supports the $validate operation if you wanted to validate some resources against that as well. If you do want a editable Fire server to connect to, talk to us. There's a few issues with that, but we can talk you through that. If you'd like one, or understand what you might or might not be able to do with one, let us know and we can work with you on trying to put something together for you there. We also have Spark Terminology Server, which is available, which is tx.dev.hl7.org.au. So that includes all the AU Core profiles and terminology to support AU Core. So anything terminology related to AU Core will all be loaded on tx.dev. We have Michael Osborne there on the day as well, who will be able to answer all your terminology questions. So he's a great resource to have there on the day. And it also supports validate and validate code and expand operations for those value sets. And then we have the Inferno test kit, which is available at inferno.hl7.org.au. And that provides the validation of Fire-based resources. So basically, Fire servers, you can just point Inferno at that and it will run a suite of tests against your server. I just noticed in the chat, Chandan, you had a question. Inferno tests such as the Fire, param, and searches updated through GitHub or loaded in the Inferno suite. Not quite sure what you're asking there. Is that, do you want to?
It's more about, like, say, when you're writing the Fire tests similar to the Postman ones, like you're constructing the URLs with the right parameters and stuff. Is that coming through GitHub, like in code in GitHub? Or is it?
So I'll just might be able to show you here. So if we run hl7.au, so this is Inferno. You select the 041 preview here. So these are all the tests. Basically, when you select to run all tests, this will ask you what your file server is. So you can specify that. This is pointing at our reference server at the moment. You can change that to your server, provide any details that you have here with headers and like for authentication. And then these are the patient IDs. So we have test data available, which I'll talk to in a minute. But you can specify which patients you want to use for the tests, which locations, which organizations like you want to use for tests. But in here, these tests will run searches and they'll run reads, it'll run searches, it'll do validation against AU Core. So that's all run automatically through Inferno. So I just noticed that you put in, yes, I think, Ilya, did you want to talk maybe to answer Shannon's question there?
Yeah, sure. So on the GitHub, you can find all source code for the all test suite. You can find source code of the test itself and some like details how to run Inferno locally. Yeah, hopefully it will be helpful. Also,
Yes.
we have some. Michael, could you please open? Yes, scroll a bit up. Open lib directory. Yeah, AU core test kit. Generated. Yeah, and here should be summary.md file. Yeah, so here we have a text description for each test. So we generate the test suite and also generate this narrative that describe how you can test this particular scenario without Inferno at all.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's very strong, very nice. I have some of these already, so it'll be good to do it on the day.
Yeah, that's right. And
cross testing. Yeah, it's very nice.
We'll be there to help you do that. And
Cool.
yeah, so this is the hosted Inferno. You can, like Ilya said, you can run Inferno locally if you want to. You can just use it as a resource for running your own set of tests as well. So yeah, that's all available to you.
I probably asked it a bit earlier than you're probably covering it, but thanks for that.
No, that's okay. And I think too, you had that question before about being able to use API keys. So it does have that header name and value. So hopefully that'll work for you for yep. API keys.
Yep. That's it.
Some test data, we did talk a little bit about this. There is a GitHub repository for test data. So this provides synthetic, realistic test data conforming to HL7 AU Fire IG. So there's a whole heap of data. There's actually more test data, more coverage of test data in there than just AU Core. But this is a public resource that's available. So you can use this to load test data into your own servers. And it's been, we've got specific patients in there that aren't real people and have realistic like data in there. So it's a great resource that you can use. You can use it for testing, you can use it for other things. So that's available there. And all of this test data has been loaded into our reference server as well. So if you just had a vanilla server, you could load our test data into it. You could then run the Inferno test over it, and you'll get a pretty good coverage of AU Core just by doing that process there. So then I want to talk about getting the feedback from your testing results on day. So this is really important. So as part of the AU Core IG development process, part of it is looking at assessing the maturity. And part of that is understanding who has tested and what parts of AU Core have been tested. And that's what these testing events are for. They're to exercise AU Core and get people testing against their system. So what we need out of that is actually some evidence of those tests. So without that evidence, we can't assess the maturity of AU Core. Like we need that real world evidence. So what we've got, we've put together some spreadsheets. I'll just show you one of those. I think this one is a profile test one. And this has across here each of the AE core profiles along the bottom here. There's a tab for each profile. And what we're looking for is actually that whether you've tested this as part of testing on the day. So we don't care whether it's a pass or a fail, that's not important. It's about whether it was tested. So talking about here, this is the actual interactions. So did you use the code, did you test against the code search parameter using the code search parameter? So essentially one of these per product will get you to fill these in on the day. And all it's simply just ongoing, I tested that, I tested this. And there's another spreadsheet which is for, I think, profiles. Just let me get the right one, this one here. So the other spreadsheet I just showed you was for interactions. So that's about searches, reads, capability statements, those sorts of things, whether you're a client system or a server system. This one is more about about the test data you're using. What sort of coverage did your test data have? Again, there's a tab per profile. And then in here, it's just like, did my test data include Indigenous status? So yes, I tested that. And we've also got a column here which says if you're using the HL7AU5 test data, which we've provided, then it shows whether that was covered in that test data. So we don't have full coverage in that test data. We're continually evolving it and building it out. But this gives you an indication of what coverage there is in that test data. These things are included in that test data set. And if you use that, then you can say, well, I tested these things. So what we'll get you to do on the day is to complete those spreadsheets for the testing you've done with the product. And like I said, they're just coverage. They're not about pass or fails. And then we've got a test results form, which is just to submit those, basically saying, this is the product I was testing on the day. This is the coverage I tested on the day, so that we can use that as part of our coverage assessment to know how much of AU Core has been tested as part of this process. The other thing is about feedback. I mentioned this early on. It's really important that we share our experiences and feedback to improve AU Core. So this is where any issues you find, and with the current version of the implementation guide, you can raise issues on the HL7 issue tracker. And that can be things we've had people say, you know what, there's too many must supports. I think it's too onerous on us having to try and implement this. Or there may be technical problems in there saying that these definitions aren't quite correct. Or I think they should be something else. Or I need something, there's some gaps here. Currently AU Core doesn't cover something that I need for my system or my use cases. So it's important that we do that on the day, and that last session of the day is, well, we can raise them at any point during the day, but we want to focus on the end is making sure that we've uploaded our test coverage as well as provided any feedback and raised issues so that they're there during our ballot process, and others can then vote on those, and we look to resolve them as part of ballot resolution. So just on that testing page, let me just get to the right one. Back on this event page for the day, there's a child page of this. It's a Melbourne AU Core testing participant capabilities. So what we'd like you to do is actually go to this page prior to the event, if you can, and fill it in with what you're bringing along. So this is for use by people on the day at the event to know who else is here, what type of system they have, so that we can work together and collaborate together on the day, doing some different connections and the like. So if you're able to edit this page, put in your organization, put in your product, and then what sorts of things you're looking to test on the day. That will be really useful for us so that we all know who's there and what they're testing, and we can work together and collaborate. But just as a prelude to that, we might just go around the sort of virtual room here today and just find out who's here, what you're planning on bringing to the on the day, what would you like, how would you like to test, what sort of test data might you use, and then is there anything that you'd need or any support or anything you'd like to do on the day, so that we get an idea of that. So I might throw Sean under the bus first. No, he's.
Yep.
Do you want to
Cool.
talk about what you're bringing on?
Yeah. Yep. I'll be bringing a SDC file questionnaire renderer. It's mainly a EU core requester, so it'll be acting as a client app, consuming test data. Test data mainly I would be using the Spark reference server as the default source of test data, but very happy to connect with other test servers if available.
Yeah, I think that's right. So you've got a smart app. So if anyone else has got a product to bring along and they want to test out the smart app launch, I think Sean would love to connect with you and try that out on the day.
Yeah, cool. And yeah, I went to the Sydney testing event. I did a couple of tests for just a couple of resources like conditions, observations. For this Melbourne testing event, I would like to expand it further, tackle the other ones like allergy intolerances, medication requests. So I'll be creating questionnaires for each resource profile for the must support elements, and then I'll be trying to get the data to be pre-populated into the form and then see how it goes.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
me. Thank you.
Okay. I've just got a list of people here. Alicia?
So I work with Charles at Creativity, and I specifically work on building simpler structures and translators to those. So testing that they're all conformant with the FHIR specifications. And we've got a few other things that we work on as well that I think Charles would be better at explaining.
Yeah, Charles. Sure.
Sure. Thanks, Alicia. And Michael. So we're bringing both a client and a server. So we basically build custom solutions using a low-code platform. And we have some FHIR translators, as Alicia alluded to, that can take FHIR data in, and we can then transform that into a health data model that we can then have workflows and UI elements on. And so that can act as a client to a FHIR server as well. But also we are building a FHIR facade as well. So we have an API, set of APIs that act like a FHIR server based on that health data model that we use. So, so we want to test both of those. And we're hoping to cover most of the resources, but at this point, it's still a work in progress, so we're not sure how much coverage we're going to have. But
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you looking at using our test data, or you got your own test data?
Yeah, we're using the test data that you guys provided through the GitHub repository, so that it's a very valuable resource. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and depending on when you've got it, we've been continually updating, and we'll continue to update it. So I know there's been some updates in the last. Today. Yeah, there's been some updates in the last week. So
yeah, no
and there may even be some before the event, but we'll let you know about that if there is.
Yeah.
Shannon.
Hi guys, Shannon from HealthLink. I'm going to be quite interested in the entire AU core actually, and also some aspects of your questions. If you can do some stuff there, but basically, very keen to look at the UPD provided directory items, both from synthetic data perspective as well as conformance and validation perspective with the latest AUP2 and AU core proposals. And we have also used some of Sean's work, say for pre-population of the questionnaire stuff, smart questionnaire forms, which would be good to test for validation of the questionnaire, as well as ways to do automated testing say for what elements get pre-populated, and like testing the questions and the forms as much as testing the data pre-population, like in one package, not two separate things. So we are using some of that smart form renderer and also some of the questionnaires that are authored in Sean's in the Sarah repo to be integrated with some of the ERAFL stuff we do at Healthline. And
Yeah, well, having Sean there on the day will be useful for you.
Exactly. So be very good to collaborate with various people who are interested in the client-side apps as well as the server side, like the file servers. So be good to share the knowledge, information, some of the designs and validations that we do, and the learnings from there. But I think user-friendly reporting, say, to non-programmers is also a key part of our business to make sure what we publish is kind of goes to another team who looks at it from a clinical perspective or kind of a non-programmer eyes as well. For so it'll be good to discuss those aspects with you. Others are thinking.
Definitely, thanks. Hayden?
Okay, so we'll be bringing, actually, myself and Stu Fox will be working together. I'm from Infosys and Stu's from Microsoft, and we'll be testing the Microsoft or the Azure Fire server. Not all the profiles, but at least a few of the profiles to see, the ability to support AU Core, and if we're having any issues. We will use the test data that you're providing. And if we do get a chance, I would really like to run that whole info node test, your automation testing against the server to see how that sort of works.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great. Stu, did you have anything to add, or you just saying?
No, I'm going to be looking forward to being the hands and legs for a change and actually getting to play with the Azure Fire service to make this work. So it looks good and looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, great. Who else got? Rob?
Yeah, hello, folks. I'm Rob Eastwood. I work in the Digital Health Agency in the Clinical Informatics team. I've been asked actually to be an observer and a learner, basically, to absorb the experiences of others across the table here. Although I have experienced the Brisbane event testing, and some of my colleagues went to the Sydney event, but yeah, this time around, I'll be sort of backseat and watching and listening and learning and all that sort of good stuff.
And obviously, if anyone has agency questions, they can come to you.
That's fine. Yes, of course.
I think I got everyone today. Is there anyone who I didn't get to wants to say something? Probably no.
Michael, yeah, just one thing about that. This Confluence page testing participant capability form. So yeah, I guess the participants here will have to fill in their systems here, right? Have you mentioned
That's
that
right.
already?
Yes, I think you're already there because I copied it from the last event.
Yep.
So, but everyone else, and this too will give, like, if Sean wants to connect to a server, he'll be able to go, yep, I know such and such is bringing along a server that's going to do smart app launch. I'll make sure I talk to them on the day and see what we can do. So this is for the participants, so that we know who's here and can reach out to each other. I mean, it's going to be a small event. It's going to be we're going to get to know each other on the day quite well. But this is just good for us to know what you're bringing along, just to sort of formalize what we just said here today. And I'll just put that link in the chat. Right, has it as well. But it's just a child page of the actual event page. So the other thing is we really appreciate the effort and the resources people are putting into AU Core and coming to these testing events and exercising AU Core. So we want to make sure that that's recognized as well. So as part of the on the testing page, we have our testing partners, so those that have contributed to testing AU Core. And we're more than happy to put your logo up there. So if your logo is not up there and you'd like it to be, just send an email to fire@ciro.au and we'll get that up there, because we absolutely want to acknowledge the huge contribution you're all making to the development of AU Core. That's pretty much it. So that's the summary of what's going on the day. So basically the event page, the one I've already put the link in the chat to, is your primary jumping point for anything else around that. There's a testing FAQ, got a Zulip chat channel as well. So if you've got any questions prior to the event, during the event, after the event, you can post them on the Zulip chat. And also just send an email to fire@ciro.au if you've got any questions as well. We're happy to answer them through any of those channels. I'm also happy to take questions now if anyone else has got anything else they want to ask about the day while we're here on this forum.
Just a quick question, Michael. Is there any current baseline tests and reports that's already in that place for the test data set for the published IT?
Sorry, a baseline set of
like tests and reports from the suite. I think that's
so
already
for Inferno, you can actually run it against our reference server. So just as a point of reference, like I said, when you all Fire API test, run all tests here. This is pointing at our reference server. So you can run that yourself against our server and see all the tests that run, see the results, and you can use that as a comparison as well. If you're unsure about, I got this result on my server, did I also get that result? Does the reference server do it? So the thing is that our reference server is by no means perfect at the moment. We're still resolving issues on it. So Inferno has flushed out a whole heap of issues with it. There's some known issues that we haven't been able to resolve yet, and we're waiting for fixes for. So we're actually using the reference server as a test server as well. We're learning from it and we're finding issues with it. So don't take the reference server results as gospel, as that's what it has to do, because there will be errors in it. There are some ones that get skipped because we don't have full test data and the like, but it is a point of reference. So, and we can discuss some of those things on the day as well. So saying, well, hang on, I've got this on my server, that's got that on this server, which one's right? And those sort of things. But yeah, you can run that now and just have a point of reference for what's there, what's available for testing.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
Okay. There's no other questions. I might just leave it there for today. All this information's available on the Confluence page. This recording will go up on the Confluence page as well. So if you've got any colleagues that couldn't make it today, they can watch this afterwards. And otherwise, looking forward to seeing everyone on the day. Should be a good day.
Thank you very much. See you, folks.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you then. Bye.